I want to talk for a minute about your learners and who's taking your training courses and the importance of understanding who those people really are. And this comes into play when you're designing a course, when you're doing a needs assessment, or when you're creating a curriculum or even a strategy. So it pops up in a few places. And I like to think of a couple different ways of doing that. So overall, I like to think about creating a learner persona. And I often borrow from marketing and where they create buyer personas. HubSpot is a great resource. They have lots of templates that you can use to think about who are these people, what motivates them, and beyond just what's the job that they do. So a couple other resources that I go to. One is Clive Shepard's book, which is More Than Blended Learning. It's a little bit dated, but I think there's some really good nuggets in there. And he talks about a couple of different areas to consider. One is the learner's prior knowledge, their interest and motivation, their hopes and fears, any cultural expectations. So if they're from different countries and culture, and then also basic skills and computer literacy, if that's going to be relevant for your program. Of all of those, prior knowledge and their interest or motivation are the two biggest ones that will impact them and how they learn. The other resource I want to refer to is Kathy Moore's Map It book. And she talks only briefly in one chapter about creating a persona, and she has some sample questions that you can ask. So related to what I just shared, but just a different way of phrasing it, maybe as a question. So one is, how experienced are they with the job behaviors and the need to improve or to change? How do they feel about this aspect of their job and why? How did they respond to previous attempts to fix this problem, if there have been previous attempts? Where are they located? Do they work with colleagues in other time zones or different geographies? And how does that layer in an extra layer of complexity? And then lastly, are there any cultural considerations such as preference for solo or group work? And I would argue that isn't just a cultural preference, but it can also show up in just a work style or personality preference. So lots of things to consider when you're looking at who your learners or who your participants are. And the more you take time to understand them, if possible, observe them in their job, the better able you'll be to target and really have a program that's going to meet their needs and not just teach them new skills and knowledge, but actually have an impact on their performance and their behavior. Hope that helps.